Let me just start with a number: 85%. According to some studies, that's the high-end failure rate for digital transformation projects. I mean, that is a staggering figure. So, what in the world is going wrong?
Well, here's the kicker. It's not the technology. It all comes down to what Siemens says right here. The real core of digital transformation is the people. It is the single most underestimated factor and why these huge, expensive, and critical projects just fail so often. And that's exactly what we're going to break down in this explainer. We're going to unlock what makes digital success actually work by looking at it as a series of interconnected layers. From the tech foundation all the way up to the people who have to make it work. So let's start at the bottom with that first most fundamental layer, building a solid digital foundation. You can really think of this as creating the central nervous system for your entire business. See, before you can get to any of the cool, smart, automated stuff, you have to get your operational house in order. And for way too many companies, that house is just a collection of disconnected silos. The finance system doesn't talk to operations, sales data is over here, inventory is over there. You just can't transform a business that can't get a clear picture of itself. The solution to breaking down those silos is something called system integration. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like the digital plumbing for your company. It's all about connecting those separate systems so information can finally flow freely and seamlessly, creating one cohesive whole. And once that digital plumbing is in place, man, the benefits start rolling in almost immediately. Your processes get streamlined. You finally get a single source of truth for your data, which is absolutely critical. Collaboration gets better, and yeah, you start to see some pretty significant cost reductions. Now, at the heart of this integrated foundation, you're almost always going to find an enterprise resource planning system, or an ERP. This thing acts as the central hub, the one platform that unifies everything from finance and HR to operations and procurement. It's what makes that single source of truth a reality. But look, putting in an ERP isn't like flipping a switch. It's a carefully planned journey. First, you've got the pre-migration phase, where you figure out the scope and get your team ready. Then comes the actual migration. That's the heavy lifting of moving all the data and testing everything. And finally, and this part is so crucial, there's post-migration, which is all about support, training, and constantly tweaking the system to make sure you're getting the full value out of it. Okay, so you've done the hard work. You've built this rock-solid digital foundation. The big question now is, what do you build on top of it? Well, that brings us to our second layer, adding some intelligence. This is where we give that solid foundation a strategic brain, and all that reliable data becomes the fuel for it. To make this real, let's look at an actual example, an AI platform called the 380 Strategist. Its whole purpose in life is to sit right on top of all that integrated data and help automate complex, evidence-based decision-making for huge industrial projects. Now, this isn't just one big, clunky AI. It's smarter than that. It works by using a team of specialized AI agents, and each one has a very specific job. For instance, you might have a digital governance gatekeeper. Its only task is to constantly check if a project is ready to move to the next stage and make sure it's meeting all the compliance rules. Then there's another specialist on the team, the HEMP Risk Manager. HEMP just stands for Hazard and Effects Management Process. This agent is like a tireless digital safety officer, constantly scanning all the reports, flagging critical risks, and even suggesting solutions for a human to review. And here's where you see the real strategic power. You've got an agent like the Contract Strategy Advisor. It can help people make way smarter commercial decisions by running thousands of complex make or buy scenarios in just a few seconds, a task that would literally take a human team weeks to do. So, we've got a perfect foundation and a brilliant AI brain. We're all set for success, right? Well, not so fast, because even the most powerful tools are totally useless if people don't trust them or don't know how to use them. And this brings us to the most critical layer of all, the one that's so often overlooked, the human factor. I mean, this quote from Siemens just captures it perfectly. Kicking off a transformation without focusing on change management, it's like setting sail into a storm without knowing how to navigate. The technology might be your boat, but your people, they're your crew. And when you actually look at the top challenges that leaders report, it becomes crystal clear it's not about the software. It's about shifting the entire company culture. It's about finding and keeping the right talent. And it's about helping people just deal with the sheer speed of change when the target itself is always evolving. And that's the crucial point here. Managing change in a digital world it's fundamentally different. We have to move from thinking there's a fixed target to realizing it's always evolving. We have to go from a top-down push to an enterprise-wide impact. And we have to stop seeing it as a one-time project and start seeing it as a state of continuous adaptation.
Okay, so let's tie this all together in our final section. Let's look at the path to real efficiency, the real return on all this investment. Because when you get all three layers right, the foundation, the intelligence, and the people, the results are tangible, they're real. Look at this manufacturing case study. A 30% reduction in production lead times, a 25% drop in inventory costs, and a massive 40% jump in on-time deliveries. That is the payoff. And this really brings us to the main takeaway from all of this. The real prize at the end of the day isn't just some shiny new piece of software or a clever AI. It's about building an organization that is fundamentally more agile, more efficient, and more resilient, one that's truly ready for whatever comes next. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final question that gets right back to where we started. Your technology? It's probably ready for transformation, but are your people?